on, man. Touch your hands back there.
Oh, touch my shit. I ain't doing it.
Hey, my name is Chris Calvert. Today I'll be talking to y'all about boxing. Alright, boxing should not be banned in recent years. There have been many campaigns to try and have boxing banned. Those in favor of banning boxing argue that it is dangerous, potentially life-threatening, and generally unsafe. It can also be argued that it is immoral to give someone money for fighting with someone else. Those who are against boxing being banned argue that it is no more dangerous than other sports. In this essay, I will critically examine each of these arguments and demonstrate to the reader that the sport of boxing should not be banned. I will provide evidence that can fully justify my comments. Firstly, I do not think anybody can argue against my strongest point, which is that every single boxer in Britain takes part in sport on their own accord and are not being forced to fight by anybody else. Everyone, if given the opportunity, has a right to take part in whatever sport he or she wishes, and therefore it is a human right. Some may say that tagging boxing a voluntary sport is too simplistic a view. However, I believe that this is not the case, and it leads me to my next point. Boxing, in fact, offers many young men a way out of their rundown social background and offers them with an important opportunity to use what skill they possess to make a living for themselves. If a person legitimately has a gift of strength and ability, then nobody has the right to stand in their way. Others think that boxing should be banned. Boxing is a popular sport that still draws records, crowds, and keen participants. Yet, despite this, there have been and continue to be strong movements calling for legislation to have boxing banned. The intention in boxing is to deliberately hurt and, in fact, where possible, incapacitate your opponent. Although other sports like hockey and rugby can be very physical and dangerous as well, the nature of the injuries are very often accidental. In boxing, however, opponents are deliberately trying to hurt their opponent to such an extent that one of the opponents will be rendered unconscious or unable to further proceed with the fight. The question that we need to ask ourselves is whether or not this form of sport should continue to be legalized. If we continue to condone and accept boxing as a legitimate sport, money will continue being funneled into sponsorships and television rights. We will continue to create a platform to generate wealth for the participants, the coaches, and the networks. Yet, at what price? Boxing is unequivocally a dangerous sport. While numerous safety precautions have been introduced to make it a safer sport, the reality is that it remains a dangerous sport. In the last 100 years, about 1,000 boxers have died, either in the ring or shortly after from injuries sustained during a fight or over a decade of fights. Trauma and damage are undeniable. And while many have been professional fighters, a number have been amateurs too. Pointless deaths are not the only consequence of boxing. A significant number of boxers have also sustained brain damage as a result of ongoing trauma to the brain. This trauma appears to be linked to Parkinson's disease, a loss of motor function, and diminished cognitive ability. And I am against boxing being banned. Thank you.